the reason I have you here, and again, thanks very much, is to provide some insight into systems engineering from your perspective, since you have a background in that in your past as well as current roles. And as a first kind of question, the second question would be, you know, how do you see the need for systems engineering in Canada, given the state of affairs with major projects going on? And so again, first question will be more about, you know, how do you see systems engineering? How's it played out in what you've done in the past and in your current role? And so we'll start off with that. And so if you don't mind, who should I start with here? Anybody willing to start and maybe talk about it a bit?
Sure, I'll go.
Hey, Mark, go ahead.
So yeah, I was educated before systems engineering became a thing. I found, and I've since found, the academic institutions, especially in Canada, North America, haven't changed much in those years. It's very stovepiped, and so you learn a specialty. And I had a teacher that was teaching me software once, and he said, well, there's nothing out there that has the name systems in it that doesn't have software in it. And then I found that that's quite true, and software is prevalent in a lot of stuff nowadays that we never really gave much thought to it. And so combining all those things together, it's really challenging to get the entire system to function the way it should, because everybody has a slice of the pie, and there's not many people that span across those pies. My last job was to outfit the Aurora aircraft for the Canadian Armed Forces, and I came to hate the word integrate because it means so many different things to so many different people, and it's not defined well at the beginning. And again, the systems engineering philosophy takes that into consideration. If everyone or more people had that idea, it would be much easier to see the final picture from all different perspectives and have a common goal or a common finish line to cross over together.
Great. And again, Mark, I recognize your background training international astronauts on how to use the Canadarm, right? And so
Yes.
Very impressive, and I'm not sure if there's a systems engineering perspective in the work that you did with that.
Certainly. So the system had already been built, it had already been engineered, was on flight at the time. And again, a systems engineer played a part to get it there, but how it integrated and how to pass that on to the future generations that were not going to be building it, but operating it, was the challenge in that role. So again, the perspective of, yes, it's a mechanical and electrical and a software system, all combining to do some sort of operational task. How did we split up those stovepipes to teach the proper roles to the proper people? You've got everybody's seen Apollo, where everybody's in the crew on the ground going, oh, we've got a problem, let's go look at this. And then there's the astronauts in the sky trying to figure out, okay, I've got this thing coming at me. What do I do to stop it? Or should I stop it? And again, the integrated role is key. Without that understanding, without that knowledge from multiple perspectives, you can't support each other. You can't do the task that's been required of you.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Thanks for that. Vicki, would you care to comment on how you see systems engineering and how it played out in your past and current roles?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to be trained up on systems engineering pretty early on in my career. When you work on a large and complex program, such as a combat vessel, systems engineering is really at the forefront of the program. It's something that we're doing daily. I mean, working on the River class destroyer, we have so many engineers from so many various disciplines looking after individual systems and components. And I think whilst they understand their system design well, there's some work to be done to make sure that they understand how that system interfaces with the other systems to ensure that we're delivering on our whole ship requirements.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Any particular challenges that you care to share in terms of that?
I think we had a lot of challenges early on with getting the requirements set right, making sure it was verifiable, making sure that we had the right requirements in place, trying to manage those requirements throughout the design life cycle, prevent too much change from happening. There's some challenges that we've had there.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Richard.
Yeah, so like Vicki on the River class destroyer program, I was initially involved and exposed to system engineering when I got there. So my background previous to that was in engineering. So I have a military background, a combat system engineer, but system engineering as a discipline didn't really exist, wasn't really taught, wasn't something that was commonplace within the Canadian curriculum when it comes to engineering. Now, while probably some principles are discussed in some of the general engineering courses, but as Mark was saying and Vicky, it's very much stovepiped in terms of as the education process comes through. So one of the things that we recognized early on within the RCD program was that there was no formal system engineering training available out there, which is one of the reasons why we had to go search it out and work with Dalhousie and yourself, Ray, to put together a course, or a number of courses really, that would provide some of that background information. Because as Vicky was saying, we're hundreds of engineers across the program, across multiple parties, and if they're not all speaking the same language, which they don't always do, everybody has their own acronyms. Every company has their own acronyms. Every discipline has their own acronyms. And as Mark was saying, and it was repeated often here, integration means different things to different people. And without some of that common baseline understanding as to what it is we're trying to achieve, and being able to, from an industry point of view, get off contract, and from a customer point of view, get what they think they're going to need, without system engineering and being able to tie that all together, we wouldn't be able to achieve our end goal. I see system engineering as an important aspect of trying to bring together the engineering and project management aspects of a complex program together. And there's no more complex program today, anyway, within the Canadian industry than the River Class Destroyer program, with the combination of systems, long duration, customer requirements, etc. It is, I would argue, probably the most complicated program going on in Canada at the moment.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing that. Great points from all, and some very obviously a common thread, and it's prevalent that you do have that systems engineering background, integration, working with teams, requirements management. So great, thanks for those comments. And so getting to the aspect of systems engineering training, and Richard, thanks for the opportunity to actually work with you in providing some training in systems engineering and complex project management through Dalhousie University. And we certainly want to open that up to the general public through an online course. And so traditionally we've seen physical systems engineering taught in the States, in the aerospace, automotive industries, and so we don't really see that in Canada so much. And so this is a great opportunity to open up the training and to industry at large and to the general public. I think not just for and agree the River Class Canadian Service Combatant project, biggest project in Canada, very complex, but at the same time there's other programs, whether it be in the railway industry or even the medical world. In fact, I think that some of the words that I heard today about integration and working with teams and things, systems that are becoming complex, I think it's not just in the projects that we may think of at the top of our head, but there's other projects going on in other disciplines, I think, that certainly could use systems engineering or a systems approach. I want to open the floor up a little bit more, just for, if there's anything else you want to talk about, again, challenges or because, and really the first question, what is it, when you hear, what is a systems engineer? It's a tough thing. And maybe you've been asked that before. What does a systems engineer do? And so I think we've addressed some of that today, but I'm just going to open the floor. Any closing comments?
Well, one of the things I like to equate a system engineer to is when you're building a house, everything else is going well. You've got a project manager bring it all together, but really the inner workings of the house are really unknown to anybody because they're all hidden behind the wall. And as long as they're all working fine, no one cares. That's sort of like system engineering in my mind, and that as long as it's working fine and the process is working fine, everybody sees it, there's no issue. The electricians are able to do what they need to do, the plumbers are able to do what they need to do. But the second, something starts to go awry, an interface, and a plumber's trying to put something where the electrician needs it, the carpenter needs this space where this one, that's the sort of clashes in the interfaces where even in a simple relatively simple program of trying to build a house, having a system engineering mindset, if nothing else, will help try to pull that all together, where you need to understand that system engineering is starting with the end in mind. Whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in the end, whether it's a aircraft, a ship, a house, what is the final product, and how do you get to that point by working logically back through the entire system, back to what is the first thing you need to do? Well, you need to have a vision and a plan to begin with. So all those things are, in my mind, what constitutes system engineering. So people do it without knowing it in certain circumstances, but it's a mindset as much as anything else, and set of principles that I think should be common and core to engineering disciplines or engineering teaching that goes on in Canadian universities today. So whether you're a mechanical engineer, electrical, chemical, whatever the case may be, in the end, as an engineer, if you're working in a large organization or even a small organization, you need to understand that you don't stand alone. You are but one of many that needs to understand how everyone else is working. And that, I think, is the role of a system engineer. So you could come from any background, but you need to have that, the end in mind viewpoint as you look at every problem that you're trying to encounter, throughout the program.
Okay, excellent. How about you, Mark? Anything else?
Yeah, I did just share a little anecdote. Unfortunately, I wasn't as lucky as Vicky. The training didn't exist in my day. I've gone through the School of Hard Knocks to develop a systems engineering approach. I'm glad to hear that it's being formalized and that there's some folks out there that can start their careers with this mindset to begin with. One thing working at the Space Agency, it highlighted to me something unique in that when you talk about large multicultural, multi-background, multi-ethnicities, it adds another element to the systems engineer that I never encountered anywhere else. It's phenomenal what the people bring, and that's an aspect that I think moving forward for folks like Vicky, we need to appreciate a little bit more, that it's not just a North American perspective, and that the other perspectives around the world are vastly different and complementary in many cases, but they can be causing conflicts if we don't acknowledge the differences and address the differences, just like any other systems of systems design.
That's a great point. We see more and more so that the equity, inclusiveness, belonging, and diversity, of course, keeping that in mind, and the different perspectives that a diverse team brings to the table. And so often we think about systems engineering providing different perspectives and views as part of a big picture to help understand the complexity in the system. And so, Mark, that's a great point in the different backgrounds of the team and what they bring to the table in terms of those different perspectives. So thanks for that. That's a great comment. Vicky, anything else from you?
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things I pulled away from attending the systems engineering course was I got the appreciation of that systems engineering, systems thinking mindset that Rich alluded to earlier.
Okay.
It sort of allowed me to step back from my area of interest and view problems with a more holistic, or in my case, whole ship view, which has really benefited me.
Well, that's great.